we're going to have a man who is going to be featuring with me this coming Thursday, actually, at the Library for National Poetry Month, sponsored by the League of Canadian Poets. He's a wonderful poet, a man of letters. He's taught in most countries, had books published everywhere. He's a novelist, he's a poet, he's everything. And I'm thrilled to be reading with him this coming Thursday. His name is Andrew Parkin. Please welcome him to the stage.
Well, thanks very much, Candice. And I'd just like to start by saying that I've never heard a performance poet before. So this experience was new to me, although I'm an old guy. Anyway, a long time ago, it was in 1964, I went to Japan. I was working in Hong Kong, and I went over to Japan on holiday for 2 weeks because I wanted to see every form of Japanese theatre. And I did while I was there. Puppet theatre, kabuki, no theatre. I even made friends with a leading no actor in Tokyo. Anyway, I did this, and I went to Kyoto, of course, and then I went back to Kyoto, it must have been in the 80s, and then I went back again in the 90s. And this is one of the advantages of being old. You kind of accumulate these things. Anyway, what I want to read now is a poem called The Mood Map. And it's about going to places. People say, never go back. But in fact, if you go back, it can be interesting and it can be good. Anyway, this is from a book called Kyoto Nights, Yokohama Days, Kyoto Nights. And it's called The Mood Map. Everywhere, the old city haunts the new and beckons from corners of gardens like green eyes. Fragments of sacred walls like old bones. Street names whispered like words from the mouth of the past. I look through a doorway into my own heart, and down narrow streets trace traces of another Kyoto. Like a sudden blow, I feel the pressure of change. I pass from shadow to glittering streets, tourist in a new city. I carry the mood map of the old. I met a Japanese musician and also a Chinese musician, and both of them were circling around a composer and a conductor of an orchestra, an Australian guy. Anyway, the Australian guy eventually married the Chinese woman, and they were having a baby. And they said, would I write a poem for their baby? And I said, well, that's a job for a poet laureate like Candice. I'm not a poet laureate. But anyway, I wrote this poem. It's called For Her Child. And it works on a kind of musical metaphor because they were all musicians. Out of the quiet dark, a few brief notes, like some figure as yet vague, some gesture of sound. The miraculous white elegance of bone curves and is a stave from which the new song will not be long to grow. And this floating instrument finds its rhythm of flesh and blood, heart near heart, and intervals of its own sweet swimming time. And its human theme with melodies that become eyes and perfect nails and finest grace notes of silken hair and brows, improvising on its genetic key to find a new world of tones, unforeseen. This music is a child of summer, come from that quiet dark, with cries at last like notes for a new beginning.